everybody? It's Brock, and we got a brand new episode of All About. We got another tank update coming to you. I wanted to start doing these a little more often, that way you're really getting an inside look of what's growing well in my tank, which fish am I getting along the way when I add new ones, and also the new chemicals and equipment I get and I've been trying out. So excited for y'all to be tuning in today. Hope you learned a thing or two, or can add some of these tools to your toolkit by the end of the video. So, let's dive in. So everyone always wants to see the new stuff we got added into the tank, and we actually have some fish and corals to show off today, and even some new inverts. So this update is around May to present day in July, so we got a lot of stuff to show, and we got a lot of new creatures. The first one are some Nassarius snails, which we usually will call the zombie snails, which are really cool snails you can get to stay in your sand bed. And just check out how big these are. That's the big reason I wanted to get them, and I'm like, these dudes are huge. I've been dealing with a good bit of hair algae and dino on my black sand bed, so I wanted to get something that could get in there and move it around, but not make such a mess as like a diamond goby would. I've also had those conchas before, which are super fun and look really cool, but they're so big and prone to flipping over, so I didn't want to take a chance with that. Took a video of them as soon as I put them in the tank, and that's probably one of the only times you'll catch them in your tank. For mine, they really only ever come out late at night, so unless I'm in there with a flashlight looking around, I'm not going to see them during the day. They definitely will come out and do some feeding on top of the sand bed. They're going to be scavenging for leftover food, dino, all kinds of stuff like that, and then they'll go right back into the sand bed, aerates it, just does a lot of really good things for your sand bed to stay healthy and good for your tank overall. With it being an invert, you'll usually want to acclimate them a little longer than your fish, just because they can be a little sensitive to the temperature and the changes in your salinity, so take your time with them and they'll do great. The next fish we got is a Talbot's damsel. So my current reef fish can be pretty aggressive. I have that maroon clown, I have a Tomini tang, a 6-line wrasse, and now this damsel. So with those, they can be very aggressive and bully some of the newcomers. So the damsel was a great fit. It was really cool to see him dive into the cabbage leather immediately upon being released from the bag. Sadly, he isn't in it much anymore, but none of the fish even tried to bully the guy, so that was super good. If anything, the damsel was pushing them back. Upon releasing the snails into the tank, the clownfish was being such a bully, pushing them around before they could get under the sand. It's always so territorial over that area. This is an 8-year-old gold striped maroon clownfish, so he definitely runs the show. Even the 6-line nipped at one of the siphons on the Nassarius snail. It was like, come on guys, leave them alone so they can get under the sand bed. They'll use that siphon for many things like respiration while they're under the sand. It can be used to smell food, reproduction, all kinds of stuff. So the one thing that always gets their zombie name is you usually, whenever you see them come out of the sand bed, it's usually that siphon that comes out first, like a little hand raising from the ground. The next invert we got is something I have been desperately looking for after the tank messed up and I lost a lot of my anemones. And so I got a new rose bulb in the tank for my clownfish to host, and boy, you could tell just how happy he was once I put that new anemone in there. They are venomous, but not against your hand so much because your pores tend to be so small, but if you let them get on your forearm, they can definitely light you up. So be careful with them. For me, I just kept my hand on them, and I would turn all the power heads off. And then once I got them to where I wanted them, I would just rest my hand on top of them to make sure that foot could grab that rock I wanted him to stay by. The clownfish hosted it instantly, It was amazing to watch. Even the cleaner shrimp was walking over there checking out what all the fuss was about. It was also really good for the clownfish to host them that fast because that also helps the anemone stay in place. And till this day, 2 or 3 months later, he's still in that same spot. So I was super happy about that. The next invert we got was a blacktip red reef starfish. So this was a super slow acclimation. I think I did the drip for 3 hours. So I was wanting to be very careful with this guy because that salinity and temperature needs to be just right before you put him somewhere new. For putting him in the tank, I dunked the bag completely under the water and then just lightly set the starfish on the sand bed. Raising them out of the water can cause them to perish, so you don't want to take this starfish and expose it to air. For whatever reason, the damselfish did not like the starfish in the tank, so I constantly had to swim him away and eventually ended up moving the starfish somewhere else so he wouldn't get bullied by him. Now we're in July, and just look how big that anemone has gotten over 2 months. I don't know what it is about this reef tank, but anemones always have done so well in it. I feed it a little small piece of shrimp about once a week, and that anemone has been loving it and just getting bigger and bigger. No signs of them splitting yet, but just the sheer size of them is huge. I'm sure it'll come before long. The next fish we got was a fairly large pink spotted watchman goby. I figured he could hold his own in the tank, plus they usually pick a cave and stick to their area, kind of like the green watchmans, rather than just running around and spitting sand everywhere like a diamond goby would, just making a mess. I also got 2 more Talbot's damsels, hoping they would pull together to give that same look chromies do, but just having a much hardier fish. We'll see how that turns out. And you know we had to get another bulb anemone. This is actually a green one, for the colors on it were just too good to pass up. It had a very lime green look to it that I really loved and hadn't seen on many other green bulbs. In most cases, the green bulbs are more of a dull white to kind of a cream color, but this one had some sure enough green on them that looked really nice. I placed the anemone on the rock right above where the rose bulb is to see if the clownfish would host it too. And the next day you really got to see everything come out, and for whatever reason the clownfish would not stay in the green anemone every time I got the camera out, but he has been hosting both anemones, which was really cool. The original Talbot's damsel I had gotten that's been in there for a little while, for whatever reason, had started digging holes in the center rock. This little deal was grabbing rocks, spitting them out, going back in, and just repeating this process until he got him a nice little hiding spot. So damsels are prone to doing this around the tank at times. Sometimes they can cause an even bigger mess than this, but he just made him a little spot in it, and I wanted to film it because it was just so cool to see. The green bulb did look deflated a couple days out of the week, which I wanted to show y'all, but after a few hours or the next morning, he would be back perked up like nothing was even going on. So I'm going to keep a close eye on him, make sure nothing's going on. He's moved a little bit around the tank, but kind of stayed on this one rock, so hopefully he doesn't go too far, and hopefully he's, all good. I haven't had any new equipment yet, but I did get a new chemical to try out. It's from Tropic Marine. It's called an Alpha Reef, and it's one of those all-in-ones, so this one includes calcium, magnesium, KH, and even has trace elements in it. And it's 5 milliliters per 25 gallons, and I've been using it the last 2 weeks, and it looks like it's working really well. So I'm gonna dose it for a month, check my levels, see where they're staying at. Usually once your levels get to a certain point, you can hold off on the dosing, but we'll see what happens. But overall, it seems like it's gonna be a good product that I'll keep using. I'll keep y'all posted in the future tank updates on how much of a difference I can see with my corals and how healthy and plump they're looking. Now, poor Frog Spawn has had its ups and downs. If you watched April's tank update, you know that I was working with the light levels and the placement with the current and just trying to get him happy. And really, when he was finally looking very happy, my clownfish began yanking on the coral, causing it to lose its footing, and I would wake up in the morning and the coral would be just face down in the sand. So that was no good for those heads of the coral. Finally found a spot where the clownfish wouldn't be so territorial, and the heads started coming out again. 2 of them didn't make it, went away pretty quick, but it's a fairly big frog spawn, so I hope it's not bothered too bad. I've been feeding some reefroids to it too, so it seems to like that. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we don't run into any brown jelly disease. And that'll do it for today's episode of All About. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned a thing or two. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them down below or reach out to me on social media. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, be kind, and I'll see y'all later.